everybody. It's a great joy to be here with our friends from the Atlantic Council. We commend the work you're doing. Thank you, Ambassador Yade, for what you're doing and your excellent team. And my goodness me, what an important time to think big about Africa. And also, what a pleasure to be here with our friends from the African Development Bank, presenting, as usual, a really excellent report. Like you, I've had the privilege of reading it. I agree with it. And it lays out so beautifully this sobering time for Africa in particular, but actually for the whole world. A slowing world economy, the perfect storm, if you like, of rising food prices, rising energy prices, rising interest rates, shocking increases in the impacts of climate change, a great vulnerability at a time when international resources are not what they need to be. If you think about it, just 8 months ago in Glasgow, we met at COP26, and there was a real spirit actually of hope then. There was a real belief that actually that $130 trillion of assets under management committed to net zero were actually going to come into play. And we still need to work hard to make that happen. But actually, Africa is not benefiting from that for a whole range of reasons. So these are difficult times. At the same time, we're seeing more innovation in Africa than we've ever seen before. We see incredible entrepreneurship. We see some governments taking really bold measures. And we've got COP27 coming, which gives us an incredible opportunity to really think big about Africa. And we need to make this Africa's COP. And I think what the Atlantic Council is trying to do and what the African Bank is trying to do is exceedingly important. Let me say you from the standpoint of philanthropy. I have the privilege of managing the Bezos Earth Fund, which is a $10 billion grant fund to be dispersed this decisive decade. And for us, Africa is an extremely important focus. And we want to, together with other philanthropies, play a role much bigger than philanthropy has traditionally played in Africa in the lead up to COP27. Like you, we are in the market for big ideas. When the world is in crisis and when a continent has the challenges that Africa now has, we need bigger ideas, quite frankly. We have a political opening to have those big ideas. So let's just sort of briefly think about some of those that we're keen to engage in. And I think you are also involved in, but there are others too. I mean, one would be, for example, landscape restoration in Africa. 100 million hectares need to be restored in Africa this decade. There aren't many win-win-win opportunities in the world. This is one of them. Taking carbon up in the sky, which is actually ruining economies, killing people, bringing it down to earth in the form of trees and bushes and crops and soils, where it brings resilience and life and vitality. My goodness me, who wouldn't want to do it? Incredible research done in Africa as to what it would take to get this to happen. Lots of money standing on the sidelines, both within Africa, but also outside Africa. Private money, philanthropic money, official money, but we don't quite know how to make it work. It's not quite adding up. We don't know how to intermediate the money down to the thousands of outstandingly skilled implementers on the ground in Africa. Why don't we think big? Why don't we work together to make that, to put a $2 billion package together for restoration in Africa? And how great the African Development Bank is doing, leading a lot of the work on the Great Green Wall, which of course is part of that. And it needs to inspire the other 33 African nations that are committed to now restore 130 million hectares. So that's just one idea. Staying with the theme of forests, there are 3 great tropical forest areas in the world. The Congo Basin is the most important of all. The Congo Basin sequesters more than the Amazon and the Asian tropical forests combined, but it is under massive threat. The tropical forest in Indonesia is now emitting in net terms carbon. The tropical forest in Brazil is just on the tipping point. Tropical forest in the Congo Basin is still soundly sucking in carbon. That needs to be compensated. Last week, I was in Gabon, country the size of France, only 2.5 million people live there, 88% still forested. The average Gabonese has a net carbon emission of minus 50 tons per year. There need to be some deals done here through macro carbon markets. We need to be thinking much bigger. We work closely with something called Project Leaf, $1.5 billion of corporate money that's willing to come in to compensate for the both restoration, but especially forest protection. We need to think big as we head towards COP27. We would like to do it with you. On energy, obviously a hugely important issue and terrific analysis in the African report that we're about to have a presentation of. Why is it that African entrepreneurs and investors have to pay 35% more to import the components of renewable energy than they do in other parts of the world? Why does it cost 3 times as much for lithium battery imports as it would elsewhere? Well, we know why. It's a very fragmented market, no standards set. Why don't we think big about this? Why don't we think, let's have an ambition to bring the price down to where it is elsewhere? That would hugely benefit. We're a founding member together with Rockefeller Foundation and IKEA of the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. The African Bank is a key member of that, so to USAID, so to US DFC. Why don't we make that a goal? Aggregating procurement, setting standards, doing deals with the government of Nigeria that's very keen to make progress on this. And then let's do it in another 20 countries. So too, energy access, my goodness me, take a country like DFC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. We need to work much more creatively, much bigger. So for example, take the idea of metro grids. Metro grids are bigger than mini grids, but they're not nationwide networks, so to speak. So like 5 to 10,000 people. At the moment, there are about 3 or 4 that are being produced. Let's go for 20. The Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet is keen. If we think bigger, if we think bolder, we can then have a relationship with the head of state, with the key policymakers, with the international donors. And my goodness me, why don't we, if we did it together? We're all doing our incremental siloed approaches at the moment. So too, we have signs of real hope on the energy transition. We're seeing the kind of thing that we need to see much more boldly in South Africa. So the United States, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the European Union, following the lead of the South African government, said, we're in. We are keen to help you move from yesterday's fuel, coal, to tomorrow's economy. And by the way, there is a narrative which the African Bank is very good at portraying, and we all need to really portray in the lead up to COP27. There used to be a belief that if you want to address climate change, you would pay a cost in terms of trade-offs. Nice to address it, but you're going to pay a cost in terms of jobs and investment. That's the economics of the 20th century. The economics of the 21st century, the best economists in the world today are saying something quite different. Smart policies on climate change lead to more economic efficiency. They drive new technologies, they lower risk, and they reshape expectations about the future. Those 4 things combined create a dynamism in the economy that Africa can enjoy much more than it's enjoyed so far. And what South Africa is trying to do and what others are trying to do is precisely to tap into that huge insight. So look, congratulations on a great report and congratulations on this meeting. We look forward to working with you as we head towards COP27. Thank you very much.